So now we're going to have Lynn Sanders, the St. Paul Jewish Community lay leader, to share a few words about tonight's session. Lynn.
Thank you, Dan. For those few people who don't know who I am, my name is Lynn Sanders. I've been active with the St. Paul Federation for a number of years. I have been a board member, worked with the CBRC, which is the allocation process. I'm also a Lion of Judah, and it is the Lion of Judah's event this evening, and I'm representing them. A little bit about Lions. We have been a specialty group within the Federation organization. We've been around for many, many, many years. Many of our mothers, our grandmothers, even some of our great-grandmothers. It was started as a specialty group at a certain giving level. And as everything within the world has changed, the parameters for becoming a Lion have also changed, and we are now working under the umbrella of families, households as the source of funding. So I'd like to say hello to my fellow Lions and welcome our new members of our community. You've met Dan, and I'd like to thank Dan. I'd also like to thank Ellen Constant, who have helped get this evening put together. Dan will be running the videos, and as Dan had mentioned, please stay on mute in the chat room if you would like to ask a question after Cantor Rachel has completed her presentation. Ellen will be monitoring the chat room and will be helping us with the Q&A at the end of the presentation. I'd also like to welcome Ted Flom, who is the CEO of the St. Paul Federation. Just a brief introduction for another person who most everybody should know and probably does know, and that is Cantor Rachel. Cantor is the cantor at Mount Zion Temple in St. Paul, Minnesota. Cantor's been a part of the community for over 25 years. And part of the reason for this evening is most of us are aware of the monies that are given to the Federation and are distributed through our major organizations such as the JCC and JFS and some of the other large organizations. The reason that you're here this evening and that the Lions are presenting this is we have provided some seed money. So some of the donations that you've made have gone into the seed money to help with the Maayanot Community Mikveh of Minnesota. And it really does fit in with our whole philosophy of the Federation, making sure that everybody feels welcome and included. And so I'd like to, at this time, just again remind everybody to please keep yourself muted. As much as we love small children and pets running through the crowd, I think we will all get more out of Cantor Rachel's presentation if we remain muted. And so with that, I would like to turn over this evening and again, welcome Cantor Rachel, and excited to hear all of Maayanot Community Mikveh and how you got involved and where things are today and what your vision is going forward. Cantor, welcome to St. Paul Federation evening.
Thank you. So first of all, I want to just thank you all so much for coming this evening on a chilly, windy Sunday night. I don't know about you, but I can hear a lot of howling out there outside my window. But I'm really grateful that you're here, and I am especially grateful to the St. Paul Federation for contributing to our seed funding, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later in terms of our funding. But this is a subject that is very, very close to my heart and something I'm really passionate about. I'll just tell a very quick background about why I got connected to mikveh, and specifically the open mikveh movement. About 20 years ago, I was in Boston with my sister-in-law, and she had a really difficult miscarriage, and it was one of many. And she asked me to go to this new place, this mikveh. And I really didn't know. I knew about traditional mikveh, and I had gone like before the high holidays, but not much. And I went with her, and I witnessed this unbelievable spiritual, sacred, and sad moment of her going into the mikveh, crying into the water and releasing a lot of sadness and grief, and gathering herself back up and coming out of the mikveh with a whole kind of attitude of like, okay, that was that. This is now, and I'm going to move forward. And it was just a real moment of transition and really transformation to see how powerful a ritual can be. And certainly all traditions, all religions have some sort of water connection. And this is one of ours. So I'm excited to tell you about Maayanot. A way that I've been doing it over Zoom is to have a little bit of a presentation, but some of it we'll read to ourselves and some of it I'll read, and then we'll have time to converse as well. So Dan is going to be my screen master. This is just for folks who may not know about what mikveh is. It's been a central part of Jewish life since biblical times, and it is a ritual bath that's used for spiritual cleansing, to mark transition and transformation and renewal. And traditionally, and for many, many centuries, mikveh has been used to mark weddings and conversions, monthly menstruation cycles, holiday preparation, and making dishes kosher. So that's kind of historical and traditional use for mikveh. We are part of a growing movement, very big growing movement, quickly growing, called the Rising Tide Open Waters Mikveh Network. And this network is an amazing resource. It's a way for people who are working on mikveh around the world to come together and gain some training and education and resources and sharing. And it's a very, very inclusive and generous group of people. I've really benefited from being part of it. It just so happens that the director lives in Minneapolis. Her name is Lucy Marshall. She became the director about 1.5 years ago. And it's just a nice coincidence that she happens to live here, and she's actually on our board of directors. So this is just a little relatively brief video that was made by Mayim Chaim, which you'll hear a little bit more about later, but Mayim Chaim is like the flagship open mikveh. And this will just give you, this video takes place at Mayim Chaim, but it'll give you a really good sort of general idea and hearing from people about what mikveh is to them. I think. Dan, do you need me to pull it up, or is it happening? Hello?
You having getting audio?
I don't see anything or hear anything.
Here we go. Try that again. Apologies.
Otherwise, I can pull it up too.
There we go.
Because that's easier.
All right. It.
I choose Maayanot as my mikveh because it's such a welcoming, beautiful place. I love it here. I like the people here. I know that whoever I'm going to interact with, I will feel cared for and welcomed in my own sacred experience.
We built Maayanot to be as welcoming and embracing as possible, and that meant really being mindful of the way everything looks and feels and smells and sounds. People are nervous when they come here. Most often they have not done this before. This is totally new. It's a ritual that you have to do totally naked. And so there's a lot of anxiety. And on top of that, they're coming at some kind of life transition.
I brought all different types of people to my client. I brought people who were finishing chemotherapy treatment and they wanted to mark that. We've had bat mitzvah girls come to my client as a way to mark an important transition in their lives. All of the conversion students that I bring here feel right at home.
I chose to immerse at Maayanot for the first time to celebrate my 20th wedding anniversary. We both immersed in the 2 separate pools at the same time, and it was a wonderful, unique, and spiritual experience. When you walk into the mikveh and you feel the softness of the warm water, and then you open the tap and the living water just kisses the other water. It is just so warm and comforting.
The explicit mission of Maayanot is to provide a space that is warm and welcoming of the broadest sense of the Jewish community. Every family who comes here should feel like this is a place that reflects who they are, that they should feel totally welcome, and that they should feel that this is a place where they can be at home. And that includes people from different faith traditions who are becoming Jewish, people of different ethnicities and races and national backgrounds. It means gay and straight, it means black and white, it means young and old. And there was no such place, and that's one of the reasons we built Maayanot. We have a room set up specifically for families that has a changing table and a baby bath and a baby shampoo and special instructions for a parent to read to a child who doesn't yet read, and even instructions for the parent so that this moment can be filled with as much intention as possible.
The mission of Maayanot is both immersion and education. We wanted it to be actually more than a mikveh because we realized that it was essential for people to learn about mikveh.
Your definition of a mikveh is that it's a ritual bath-like pool that cleans your soul using water, and it does it for men, women, Jews, and people becoming Jewish. That's exactly right. You guys have done a fabulous job already.
We've had many, many more people who have learned about mikveh here at Maayanot than even the thousands that have immersed here.
A ritual in water has been utilized by human beings for thousands of years, and it has a very unique power in and of itself.
Maayanot is, I would say, the most loving, welcoming, accepting place that I've ever been.
This incredible device removes 50 times more earwax than cotton swabs and
Funny thing, when you go to the mikveh, you're actually supposed to clean every single part of your body, including your ears. So you think that ad was a mistake, but anyhow, the thing I didn't mention about my connection to mikveh is that, let's see, well, many years after I was with my sister-in-law having that experience, 7 years ago, Adam and I were on a sabbatical in Boston, and I knew that I wanted to spend my time at Maayanot. So I called them, said I want to be there and do what I can for Maayanot, and I became their scholar in residence. And it was really quite a special experience to learn from them, to contribute the things that I could contribute. And it was just a beautiful place to be. I loved walking in there every day I went in. Okay, can we go to the next one? There we go. So this is just a loose sort of vision and a mission that we have right now. Our vision is to create an open community mikveh for Minnesota. Maayanot will be a center for healing and celebration, transformation, drawing participation from Jews across denominations. And this is pretty much what Anita Diamond said, people of all backgrounds, affiliated, unaffiliated, Black, white, gay, straight, male, female, really to everybody. And our mission is to reclaim and renew the ancient ritual, Jewish ritual of mikveh immersion in a sacred space that provides a welcoming and meaningful way for all Jews and those choosing Judaism to mark life transitions. This is our relatively new board of directors. I won't read all the names, but I'll give you a moment to look because I imagine that you know probably a few people on this board. I would imagine everybody knows at least somebody. We're really, really fortunate with the group that we have. We've had 2 board meetings so far. We had 100% attendance at the first and almost 100 at the second. The only reason we didn't was because this person couldn't get into the Zoom room. Most of it was, everyone else was in person. But it's a very dedicated, excited, smart group of people. And so it's just super fun to work with these folks. One of the really beautiful things and helpful things I think about mikveh and Mayim Chaim and this whole open mikveh movement is the impact stories. And I'll just give you a moment to read this one. There will be a couple others that pop up in the presentation as we go along. Okay, let's go to the next slide. We've had a site exploration committee that's been hard at work since I think it was the spring that we started meeting. We meet every 2 weeks. These are the folks on that committee. I again imagine you know at least some of them. Again, a phenomenal group of people, very thoughtful, very knowledgeable, really complementary skills. And the site exploration committee has spent months discerning what we need in a building, what we need in a location, what would be the best scenarios. And without going through all of the details, because it's been a very thorough process, I'll just say that what's risen to the top is co-location with another community Jewish organization. So we're exploring that right now as almost as we speak. That's pretty exciting. I'll give you a moment to read this one. One of the things mentioned in this testimony is about the mikveh guide. And the mikveh guides are like kind of like I won't say para-clergy, but in a way, they are people who are trained and have a certain kind of a demeanor and sensitivity to guide people through their experience at the mikveh, to make it feel welcoming and comfortable, to answer questions, to show them where the towels are, to do everything that that person may need or nothing, just to be there. And so that's another important part of this whole movement. One of the things that I think is really exciting is to think about the possibility of having cohorts of people trained to be mikveh guides. Just another way to really focus on our larger community and bringing people together from different pockets of the Twin Cities and surrounding areas. So some of the things that we've already done toward creating Maayanot. First of all, just a little bit of a sentence of background. We do have obviously many, many wonderful Jewish organizations and synagogues, and our goal is not to recreate anything anyone else is already doing. Rather, we'd like to partner. If we're working together, we're definitely doing more and doing it better. We do currently have 3 Orthodox run mikvaot, and 2 more, I believe, are being built in the western suburbs. Like the mikvaot that we already have, Maayanot will be a certified kosher mikveh, but it's going to have a unique aspect in that everybody who is in the Jewish community, people who are belonging to synagogues, people who don't yet know where their place is in the Jewish community, or maybe haven't found the thing that speaks to them, this will be a portal for them, and hopefully a doorway to maybe even more Jewish experiences and more Jewish involvement. We'll also provide some education and programs and experiences for people who may feel marginalized, may feel out of touch with their Judaism. And this is just a really wonderful way to engage people. It's, I would say particularly young adults, but really, I think really everybody. But we're all thinking about how are we going to engage the next generation and what is it that's going to speak to them. And I do truly believe that this is something that does speak to a lot of younger people, in addition to all of the people who maybe are already engaged and maybe not in their 20s and 30s. So we've been at this for, well, I should say, I've been at it for many years. And now it's really a we, because we have a board of directors and some other things that I'll explain. So we've been doing this for a long time, but things really picked up speed. I guess I would say like in the winter, we really started moving forward quickly at that point, which was has been very exciting. As I mentioned, we really think of ourselves as a community organization. Our board of directors members come from all different parts of the Twin Cities and beyond. I and the board of directors have met with really so many people. I've met with all of the area clergy, Reform, Reconstructionist, Modern Orthodox, and Conservative. So I've met with every single clergy team, and also Jewish leaders and Jewish organizations in Minnesota to share our vision. And that really goes beyond, when I say Minnesota, I really mean Minnesota. I've met with people in Rochester and Duluth, just to help them feel like this is really, this is their place too. We've gotten, honestly, only positive feedback and a sense that this is something that our community really needs. And so that's a pretty wonderful feeling about a project, to feel like there's a lot of support for it. Oh, I made this font a little too small. The excitement about Maayanot has already led to a lot of conversations and programs amongst different Jewish organizations, amongst people, really getting excited about the possibilities. And we've done a number of events. Some of the highlighted ones are some house meetings, parlor meetings. We've done now 2 summer lake immersions where we invited whoever wanted to come in the month of Elul to come to a lake and immerse as they prepare for the High Holy Days. We partnered with 6 Points Theater and presented Anita Diamond's play, The Mikveh Monologues, which are testimonies, very powerful stories of people's experiences at mikveh. And there's many other events that we've done since then and that we are planning to do still. One of the really big things for us was that we got fiscal sponsorship from Jewfolk Media. We're not yet our own 501c3. We're in the process of applying, but I've been told it can take up to 18 months. And we had a large donation and we needed somewhere to put it. And so Jewfolk has been amazing to work with us, and their executive director, Libby Parker, is also on our board, as is their board president, as an honorary member, Jim Stein, who many of you I know. It's another impact story. Give you a moment to read it. Okay, next slide. These are some of the events that we did this last summer, really fun events. We did something at Adath that I partnered with, I'm sorry. The first one was actually for the Harry K. Leadership alumni. That was a really fun event in the backyard of Jen Robbins and Steve Hunnigs. We had a really great group of people for that. And then we did a really interesting twist on the whole story of mikveh. that one was at Adath with Rabbi Sarah Brandes, and it was about an ancient mikveh that was moved to be next to a new open mikveh. I'll leave it at that. If you want to know more, you can ask me. And then, as I mentioned before, we did this Rosh Chodesh Elul lake immersion. So that's the end of my official presentation. I know that Dana's going to put these links in the chat to my email. I have a scheduling app if you want to get together and have coffee. We could even do it in person if you want. And then also to like us on Facebook. We're expanding our media presence. We're about to start working on a website. Right now we have a page on TCG Folk. And that is the end of my formal presentation. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I hope you have a lot of questions. And I just look forward to having a conversation. And this is the time for all of those questions.
Kanta, thank you. And Lynn, thank you also for hosting tonight. It's not so much a question, but I just want to share. I came back from the Jewish Federation's North America General Assembly on Tuesday. And one of the themes that was running across all the sessions and every day was the need to be much more inclusive and to do much more outreach. And there's a tremendous desire, interesting enough, while affiliation rates may be decreasing, studies are showing that the demand and the searching and longing for spirituality is increasing. And so we're so excited that, Kanta, that you've taken the lead on pursuing this. I think it is good for our community. It's good in a way to reach out and strengthen and invite others to get involved and engaged. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to hear that. You know, I mean, it's something I think a lot of us know, but to hear it articulated as something that the GA was talking about, and knowing that our community is, and really we're kind of on the cutting edge of doing this. It is happening in a lot of communities, but we're relatively early in on the process. Yeah. One of the things I didn't mention, actually just a couple quick ones, if I may, because this reminded me that we haven't really done any official fundraising campaign yet. And I'll say more about that, but we did do, after we got this initial donation, we also needed some funding so that we could hire somebody to help manage the project. And then we could hire somebody to do some fundraising consulting. And so we had a $50,000 match from the same family that gave us the initial $10,000. That was Heidi Schneider and Joel Minzer. I don't know if you know them, but if you do, it was a very generous, wonderful gift. And mikveh is something that's very close to their hearts. So we got that, and we wanted to raise another 50,000. And I spoke with all of the clergy, as I mentioned, in all of the different non-ultra Orthodox synagogues. Did talk to Rabbi Davis at Darchei Noam and conservative reform reconstructionist congregations. 100% of them donated to the seed funding. So that was very exciting, 100%, and that includes Duluth and Rochester. And then we had a few individual donors, and again, we're very grateful for the St. Paul Jewish Federation and the Minneapolis Jewish Federation, also for the donations to help us really do what we need to do to keep moving forward. Part of what that seed funding is paying for, and right now, this is really the biggest thing, is that the work was becoming quite large, which is wonderful. And so it became pretty clear that we needed a paid staff person. And so we hired Catherine Klibanoff, who is a consultant and a project manager. She's done a number of projects with different organizations in the Twin Cities, including Shir Tikva and Heilige, and Washburn Center for Children. I don't know how I got so lucky. She is phenomenal. She's quick and smart and efficient and really nice and she likes the project. So that was amazing. And then she led us to Kim Snyder of Excelsior Bay Group, which is a philanthropy and fundraising consultant, nonprofit consultancy. And they are helping us lay the groundwork for a feasibility study. So I wanted to just make sure I mentioned those important pieces. I think somehow they fell out of my presentation, but I'm really grateful for the support that we've had and from Federation in particular.
Candace Bilker, we have a question about the educational programs that the mikveh might host.
Yeah. So you could see in the video that there were a couple of different education programs. There was one for children. Mayim Chaim in Boston has, I think they have a curriculum for 6th grade. So almost all of their area synagogues bring their 6th graders to Mayim Chaim to learn about mikveh. So that's built into their curriculum. Then there's also training people to be guides. There's also, of course, teaching people about mikveh, but I really see this as being a more expansive way of thinking about what education can be related to mikveh. And as I mentioned before, I really think it's important that we partner with other organizations. I don't want to duplicate anything anyone else is doing, but I would love to partner with Hineni, with a synagogue, with the JCC, so that we can amplify our messages, which in large part often overlap, and we can offer each other, strengths and information and energy that I think is only going to benefit our community at large, also in a learning capacity.
Candace, there's another question about getting updates for people not on Facebook. Do you have an email list?
I do. I can get that into the chat. It's on, or unless Dan has a second to look it up, on the TCG Folk webpage that we have. If you just look up TCG Folk Maayanot, Dan, I think it'll come up. And there's a place there that you can click to join the mailing list. I will say it's not super active yet. So if you sign up and you haven't heard from me, oh, thank you, Adam. Adam Garin just put it in the chat. Thank you. If you sign up to get our newsletter and you haven't heard yet, we're getting there. There's so many different things going on at once. We don't have like a process yet to have a formal newsletter all the time, but we will. And in the meantime, I'm happy, like I said, I'm happy to meet with anybody who wants to learn more.
Our community concierge, Nitsa, would like to say some things.
You're muted, Nitsa. You're muted again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm working on my phone. So first of all, I want to say hello to everyone and say that my name is Nitsa Shir, and I'm thrilled to be working with the St. Paul Jewish Federation as the concierge, the director of outreach and engagement. And Cantor, I'm going to be on your team, and I'm excited to do so. And I personally had some experiences, good and not so good, with the mikveh experience. So I even have my own story, and my mikveh experience in Beersheba in Israel was a warm and welcoming experience. And I'd love to share some of my stories too. And knowing that I am also learning about all the resources in the community, and I'm excited to network and to share and to learn. And I can't wait to have lunch with you or a little coffee to find out more about how I can support this mission that's so very important. And lastly, I would just like to ask, is there a location that they're looking at?
So that was a lot, and it's great. I love to hear when people have mikveh stories. And honestly, the challenging stories are almost as important as the wonderful experiences that people have, because the challenging stories, I think, really help point to why we really do need this. And I can certainly share some of those if anyone is interested. And the good stories also say why we need this, because we want people to have positive Jewish experiences. So thank you for mentioning that. In terms of a specific location, right now, as I mentioned, we're looking at a number of options that would be co-location. situations where we would either build into or onto an existing Jewish community organization. Our preference, if it's possible, is that it be a Twin Cities Jewish community organization. And we're sort of in the middle of discerning all of that. There's so many different things that we're looking for. And very, building a mikveh is not like building most other things. And so we're kind of weighing and balancing all of the different options right now. Thank you, Nitsa.
I have a question, Cantor.
Yes.
How do you, you mentioned different physical abilities, and obviously the pictures in Boston that would not be accessible for people with physical needs. How can that be built in?
So actually, they didn't show what they have for people who have physical accessibility needs. They have another video that talks about how it's accessible to everybody. So certainly the building has to meet all the ADA regulations. There's a preparation room, so that would have to include a roll-in shower and enough room for a wheelchair to come in. And then the big thing that you didn't see is what's called a Hoyer lift. And it's like what you see at the JCC, like if somebody comes and they want to go swimming, but they might not be able to get down the stairs to go into the pool, there's a lift that you can sit on and it'll take you down into the water. And so because radical welcome and accessibility inclusion is so much at the core of the mission of the Open Mikveh movement, that will definitely, it's definitely on our list of things that have to happen. So it's a great question. Thank you. And we're trying to think of accessibility in lots of other ways too. Our board is starting a committee that is diversity. Let me think. It's DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So we'll be examining all the different aspects of what that means. Some of it's physical, some of it might be sensory, some of it might be cognitive. One of the things that I worked on that I loved doing when I was at Maayanot in Boston, they wanted to have a guide for people with disabilities, like cognitive disabilities, or people who maybe just needed, even, younger children, people who may need something to be broken down and simplified and with illustrations. And I got to work on that guide. And so, like I said, it's really very much part of the mission of the Open Mikveh movement. Great question.
I have a question. From the kind of the idea phase to inception, or where you are in the process, what has been the most, or what is one of the more challenging things you've dealt with, and what's been the most rewarding in this process of building this?
Great question. I guess I think the most challenging thing maybe, I did not grow up here. So I can say that the most challenging thing, and I feel like it's actually in and of itself not challenging, but I think is the where is it going to be, and everybody thinking it should be in their own backyard. And my reminding people that we're looking at the ideal building, the ideal, the thing that will meet the needs of the mikveh, and we're less concerned with which side of the river it's on. And honestly, I haven't gotten like a lot of, it hasn't been a lot of heartache, at least not yet, but it's something that comes up a lot. Where's it going to be? What's the location going to be? So not a huge barrier. I think as soon as I say to people, it's a community organization, it has to be on one side of the river or the other, and it has to meet, a series of criteria. And so wherever that's going to happen, it's going to be the best place. In terms of the best thing, I could list so many of them. Seriously, I really could. And I don't mean that to sound Pollyannish, but I'll pick one. Our very first board meeting. I mean, who really looks forward to board meetings and who leaves board meetings feeling elated? No, nothing against any board, but I think, we all have a feeling. There's good boards and we have good experiences. I was on a high for like a week because of the people who came, their ideas, their questions, their investment, and the feeling that this is a real something. it's really going somewhere, and that, you know, I'm not the only person invested in this. And beyond our board, we have many people invested in it. It's exciting. You know, I've had people call me asking for internships, for jobs, to be mikveh guides, and all these things that is really exciting, and I'm keeping their names. And we're not there yet for most of those things, but a lot of those people are really happy to be called on to do something in the meantime. So I think that might have been kind of a long answer, but other questions?
Feel free to unmute yourselves too if you.
I did see a comment in the chat about the mikveh guides being a nice idea. And I want to just maybe just say another word about what that is. You probably saw a little bit of it in the video. But right now, when people go to the mikveh for a conversion, they have to go with their clergy, which is appropriate. You know, we sit with conversion candidates in the Beit Din, that conversation, that's the last thing that they do before they go to the mikveh at the end of their conversion process. And right now, we, the clergy, are their witnesses going into the water. And that's fine. I mean, something I like doing, but maybe not everybody wants to go with their clergy into the mikveh pool. I mean, we don't go into the pool, but we have to witness whether somebody goes under all the way and things like that. So it's nice to have somebody who isn't your clergy person. Also, the mikveh guide really takes you from beginning to end of the whole experience. So they are probably the person that's going to get in touch with you and say, hey, why are you coming? If you want to share that with them, what can we do? Are there prayers you'd like us to help you with? You know, if this is a certain kind of occasion, how can we shape your experience? Then they meet you when you get there. They walk you through the whole experience, show you where things are, and are just a guiding presence. And again, like I said earlier, they're there as much or as little as you want them to be. So there's many reasons that's a beautiful thing. It's really wonderful, I think, for people in our community to be able to take care of each other and to be a loving presence for each other and to hold witness to somebody's experience. And these obviously are going to be people who are vetted, who are trained, who, you know, feel like the right fit for this kind of a role. So, like I said, I imagine cohorts coming together and meeting each other who may not have known each other before. That's exciting too.
I have another random one. Will this mikveh also be available to use for, you know, like for dishes and things like that? When I know that other mikvahs, people go for ritual cleansing, but they also bring things to kosher. Will this be available for that as well?
We would like that. I've been asking my mikveh network how people do that. There are different ways. I found one of them really funny, but one of them has like a little separate door and room. You can just walk into the room and dunk it into the pool yourself. I've heard of people taking laundry bags, like the net mesh laundry bags, and they bring their dishes and they immerse them in the mikveh. Clean dishes, they don't bring them dirty. And so, yes, I definitely, I can imagine like Passover prep is going to be a pretty exciting time if we can make it possible for people to come and kosher their dishes. So yes, that's something I really would like to be able to do.
Thank you.
I should say too, you know, we are talking about what it means to reframe and reclaim this ancient ritual, but that is not in any way to preclude people from going for traditional reasons also, for going for family purity, you know, when women finish menstruating, to go after having a baby, to go before high holy days or before Shabbat. So it's really meant to be the full spectrum of why people would go. Are there other questions that we didn't see in the chat or any others in general? I'll say one other thing, and can a dog or a cat be taken to the mikveh? No. I mean, maybe we could, set up a little something for them outside, but no. I want to say everybody's welcome, but dogs and cats present an accessibility issue for other people, allergies and such. So that's funny though, because I did present mikveh to a group of fourth graders last year on Zoom, and their teacher did an exercise with them afterwards. They collaboratively wrote a story that included mikveh, and it was about a cat going to the mikveh, because it's something the kids could relate to. The other thing I was just going to say, if you haven't heard of Anita Diamond, I'm guessing many of you have. She wrote the book The Red Tent, which was an international bestseller. She also wrote a lot of Jewish guidebooks, like The New Jewish Wedding, The New Jewish Baby Book. She wrote a book about mourning. This was her brainchild. And it's an incredible vision that obviously had legs, because they were getting calls from all around the country of people asking, how can we do this? Which is why they ended up starting this whole mikveh network. She's an inspiring person.
Are all of your donors local, or are you able to tap into national or international funds to help with this?
So as of right now, they're all local. We are very soon going to launch a feasibility study, which will be a series of conversations with folks to get a sense of what they think of our project, what they think of our plan, to get an idea of what philanthropic support is out there to make it happen. And I don't know where that will go yet. Right now, we're starting locally. We will certainly be applying for grants, which will probably not only be local. And then there may be people who have moved away from our community who still care about the community and want to see something new happening. So it's a great question. And we're absolutely open to anybody who wants to support us, whether they live here or not.
That's good. Anyone else? Thank you for this opportunity, Cantor Spilker.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's something I love to talk about, obviously, and I'm very excited about it. And I just really, the more people I can share it with, the better. For me, it's fun, but I also, like I said, I really, really believe it's good for our community. So I'm happy to be able to share with you, and certainly welcome questions at any point or conversation at any point. And if you know of other people you think would really like to learn about mikveh, send them my way, because I'd love to talk to them. And again, I want to thank the Federation so much for your participation in our seed fund effort. Really has led to so many wonderful things already. So thank you.
Our pleasure.
So I posted all of the details in the chat again, so you can ask questions as they come up, or reach out to Cantor Spilker to get involved. Follow the Facebook group. So we look forward to seeing this come to fruition.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Have a great night. And Shavua Tov. Have a good week too.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. And thank you especially to Cantor Spilker for a very important and meaningful event, and look forward to connecting with our Lion of Judah community later on this year and into the spring. Dan, thanks for all your help.